Welcome, everybody. I'm going to fire the slides up here. And of course, just like last time, we'll be releasing, and we were actually a little bit late on this last time, but we will be releasing the video of this for replay and things. So if you have folks who would love to, couldn't join us, but would love to see the presentation, we will have that video available in a matter of days this time, we promise. So let's get underway, and Paul's going to kick things off this month.
Right. Thank you, Ed, and welcome to our webinar series. This series is dedicated to workplaces, to employers who are looking for top talent, want to attract top talent to their organizations and be known as a great place to work. And we all know that in this post-pandemic reality, as we're calling it, that finding great people is just infinitely harder than it's ever been. And this has been a decline that's been happening. It's certainly a trend that didn't start with the pandemic, but it got accelerated by just people working from home, changing their positions. So finding these skilled workers or people that can work the frontline jobs, that kind of talent has just become really elusive. And today's topic is about, is it your organization that's driving the frontline workers away? And we'll explore some of the ways that perhaps the way that you are recruiting or looking for your talent and how you're interacting with them is part of the problem. So let's move to the next slide, please, Ed. Ed's got the clicker and he's in control here. So this is our promise for the webinar today and just what we will be covering. Of course, we want to hear from you. Ed will be popping in and maybe polling and asking for some insights in the chat, and then we invite you to share your experiences. But it's really frustrating right now trying to attract, hire, and retain great talent because everyone's competing.
We've talked a little bit here. I'm going to show this real quickly, and then we'll have a group do it. Okay, same transaction, but once again, we have Mr. Newton wanting to deposit a $700 check and get $50.
You want to mute?
Yeah, we got someone who needs to mute, please.
Well, and you got the power, Ed. You can mute all the stuff. Asserted, you got the power.
I have the power.
But it's good to know that some deals are being done here and that good work is happening, right? So back to what our promises for this webinar is that, yeah, the frustration of trying to attract and hire talent in this post-pandemic reality, it's a real thing. We feel it, we hear you. We've heard it from multiple workplaces, and we've worked with people to help them overcome this. But you can become known as a great place to work and become a place where people will actually choose to leave other workplaces when you have an employment brand and you market and use it to market your job posts. So that is the change. Like now, looking for talent is marketing. It's just like going after customers. So going for good talent, you need a brand that you're marketing to the talent you're seeking. Just like the brand that you present to the population at large to look for customers, you're doing the same thing with your talents, the employees that you're looking to attract. So next slide, please, Ed. So this talk, it's for you if you've got positions that are open and they're staying open too long. And we certainly have had some discussions with people that are even on this call today and on this webinar who've had open positions, frontline worker positions that they are having trouble filling, or they're just not getting the applications that they used to. And there isn't that pool that you can select from. So if you're experiencing this is for you. And next one. And if you're understaffed and your people are too overworked to cross-train, and I know Ed will probably share some stories about people he's talked with about this problem. You know, like you might have upper level management saying, well, you know, why don't you just get other people on the team trained in the same sort of duties so that you can get it covered, and you're pulling your hair out because you're like, listen, everybody here is too overworked already and we just can't handle it. And the next one, please. And finally, you know what talent you want, but you just can't seem to find it. It doesn't look like it's out there anymore, or you're not getting any bites on the posts you're putting out. So we'll show you some things that you can do. And at the end, you know what, we'll talk to you about how you can even share with us some of your what you're looking for, maybe a job description that you're putting out, or a post that you want to have reviewed, because there are ways you can rearrange it, ways that you can highlight what you really are known for, or should be known for, because you're really different. And we'll also share some stories about workplaces that didn't realize that they really had a lot of value to offer frontline workers who have their pick of all the different places to work. And if you don't know how to market it, they're not going to know about it and know why you're better. So these are the things we'll be covering today. Let's go to the next slide, Ed. Now, why are we doing this webinar series, and why would you want to attend? Well, first of all, we're doing it, it's free. It's just what helps us is when we get to present to someone, we can create this content, and we can get video, that footage of us speaking, that we can put up on our website and use it to provide valuable insights to employers like yourself. We also just really want to make a difference in the quality of workplaces, because yes, there seems to be a shortage of workers, but they're making demands. And they're really just vocalizing how they want to be acknowledged, how they want to be treated, how they want to be interacted with. And there's been a power shift. So in order to navigate this new sort of playing field, we need new skills, and we can't keep using the same ones that we've had. So we'll be talking about how to do that over the next several webinars, and we'll be doing them all year. And finally, number 3, we enjoy seeing employers and employees thrive, because people are people, and we have our own wants, our own needs and desires. And when we get to show up and bring our whole selves to work and enjoy the process of delivering on a mandate, on a brand promise, and enjoy fulfilling our own personal sort of mandate or how we want to live our lives, then we're happier, and we help businesses thrive. So that's what we want to see for you. And that's what I know Ed's been delivering in workplaces and working with culture. And so we'll be sharing how you can do that as well. Now, before we really get into it, and I mean, we've already gotten into it, but next month's webinar, I'm going to share the top 3 job seeker expectations that leaders must address in today's labor market. They, like I said, they have expectations, they're making demands. And in order to just meet the baseline requirements of getting those applications and getting people to interview, you have to make sure that you are meeting those minimum expectations just to get them to even consider you. So that March 29th.
March 29th at noon. And at one point here, we will throw the link in the chat for everyone. So if you want to register today, you can go ahead and... I'm sorry, you're breaking up there a little bit, Paul. But yeah, I'll get the link for registering next month's seminar in the chat in a little bit here.
Okay. Now, am I back? If I see things moving.
You are back.
Okay, I bet you there was with the washroom break, there might have been a little drain on the not just the bladders, on the Wi-Fi signal as well. So excuse my my little joke. So what are we going to cover in this session? You're going to discover how to identify business processes that could be working against you. And pick up, please, if I've frozen here.
We still got you on audio. I'll hop in here. It seems like Paul's having some trouble. And so the second thing we're going to take a look at is why your candidate experience might be turning applicants away even before they apply. And this is a dangerous one. We're going to spend a lot of time on this today. And actually, we've got a future webinar that we're really going to dig into this topic. This is a major problem we're seeing in HR functions today, is the entire candidate experience is just off from a what people want standpoint and off from a technology standpoint. Paul, you're back again. Go ahead and take number 3.
Keep going. You're doing a great job. We'll make sure to stabilize before I. And
so the final thing that we're going to share with you today is how do you give candidates a really honest look at what your culture's all about, right? Because so often what I have found in working with organizations is they feel that they have to put the dog and pony show on so that people will walk in and see all the shiny plates and the best silverware and think, oh boy, they even put the fine crystal out for me, right? And then they come back the next day and they're like, wait a minute, we're eating with plasticware and paper plates. What's going on, right? And so the reality is that turns people off. And so we want to show our true work selves, if you will, to folks right off the bat. And we're going to talk about not only why that's important, but how to do it. Paul, go ahead.
All right. So, but why are we here talking to you? And should you listen to us? Well, I'll leave that up to you. But I will tell you a little bit about where I come from and why a Dr. Paul, who's a chiropractor, would have anything to say about workplaces. But here's what I'll tell you: is I've been a chiropractor for 25 years, and I don't practice now. But for the first 16 years of my career, I was taking care of people that worked in possibly your workplaces. And what I would see is that they had pain. And as I dug a little deeper, it was because they weren't really in alignment with how they wanted to live their lives. They were feeling like they had to be somebody different. And it was up to me to find out like what was really going on. So I hear the unheard. Like when people are telling me what hurts or what's going on, like I hear beyond what you say. And then I ask questions. And so while I was finding that people are out of alignment with like their workplaces, not enjoying their jobs and all that, look, today they're just telling us and they're vocalizing it and they're quitting. Whereas before they used to stay and just get sick. So now I'm on the other side of things, right? I'm no longer just putting the Band-Aid on people that are trying to stay in a bad situation. I'm looking at the workplaces that can no longer be the way that they used to be. There's been a big change, and the pandemic really accentuated it. Like we now have to respect what they're asking for. And we're seeing that in the salaries that we have to pay out, and that they'll still leave us at the drop of a hat or for, a few dollars more somewhere else. But it doesn't have to be that way, because we've been listening to the workers and to the employers. And when I hear what you say that you're telling, what's going on in your workplace, there's always value that you can find that you may not consider because it's so normal to you. It's so everyday, but to the right person, it's an asset. It's something worth coming to work for you instead of for your competitor. It's something that really matches their lifestyle and what they want. And that's what I listen for. And that's why Ed has really partnered up with me, because he got a good taste of my listening and hearing skills and how I think and see the world. So I'll pass it over to you, Ed.
Yeah, well, good afternoon again, at least in Eastern time, it's now afternoon. My name is Ed Crow. I am a talent transformation expert. I've been working with companies for over 20 years now on their culture and their organizational development initiatives. And, over the course of that time, I like to think that I've learned a little bit along the way, right? And, one of the cool things about my job as an external consultant is the ability to see how different organizations approach similar problems. And, I like to say people are people, because they really are. Whether you are in a bank, on a construction site, in the manufacturing floor, or in a hospital wing. I mean, how we interact and treat our people is very, very similar. And so I think together what Paul and I have seen we're able to do with organizations is really, Paul diagnoses, that's the clinician in him. He's really good at diagnosing and pulling the story out. And then I work my magic on, okay, how do we get that out to the world and the employees and create that vibe? So together, I think we make a formidable team. And that's why I love working with Paul on client work and on webinars like this one, because we're simpatico. So I apologize. My clicker seems to be having a mind of its own today. Every time I touch it, it advances a slide. And I'm not sure why. But we are in the experience age, and that slide does not want to stay up. We are in the experience age. And I'm going to try one more time, gang. See if we get something here. No, it doesn't want to hold. So the experience age is one where we want to experience life. And I want to give you some examples. So throw in the chat, how many of you are on Facebook? You can admit it. We're all friends here. How many of you are on Facebook? Jesus says he's in. Paul, stop looking. Rita, Carlos, yep. We're all there. It's like we all shop at Walmart and nobody wants to admit they go to Walmart, right? Because we don't want to be called Walmartians. But here's the thing with Facebook. Now, I want to go back even before Facebook, and let's go to the late 90s, early 2000s. And this thing called Twitter started coming out. And then we had this thing called LinkedIn coming out. And I can remember some of the jokes with Twitter was you'd follow these people and they would say, like, I'm standing in line to get an ice cream. Why do I care that you are standing in line to get ice cream? Good for you, right? And I can remember the jokes being written about that. I can remember people saying, okay, these people don't know how to use Twitter. This is not what it's for. We don't need a blow-by-blow of your life. Take a look at how Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, how people are using those social media platforms. Paul and I have a mutual friend. She does crazy stuff. She jumps off of cliffs with like nylon wings and stuff like this. Right?
I introduced her to the guy that she jumped with.
Well, there you go. Right. I don't need to have that experience. I have no desire to jump off of a cliff with just nylon on my back. Okay. But you all have friends that do these crazy things, right? And when they do it, what do? 9 times out of 10, they take a GoPro camera with them, right? So they can link that GoPro up to their Facebook feed. You can even see it live in some cases, and you can have that experience with them without the death-defying jump off the cliff, okay? That's the move to the experience age, gang. This idea that we're using social media platforms as a way to experience the world through other people. And I can tell you based on some of the organizations I'm working with that we are already getting to next level stuff. The purpose of today is not to talk about the metaverse, but that's going to be a whole nother realm of experience that we're going to have to learn to play in as business professionals. Okay. And maybe we'll talk about that on a future webinar, but this idea of the experience age is one where we are looking to not just use technology for information, but to really experience the world around us. And so if you take it beyond, say, a GoPro camera experience, think about when you get on Facebook and you've got a friend who is on vacation, right? And they're taking pictures of beautiful mountains, sunsets, the gorgeous dessert they had at this fancy restaurant, whatever it is they're doing, right? And you're commenting, oh, that looks really great. What did you have? Oh, what's the drink you paired with that meal? Right? And that can happen in real time versus it being a static sort of thing that back in the 70s, when the Joneses next door went to Niagara Falls, they came back with their little slideshow and they invited the neighbors over to look at a slideshow, right? We can experience things real time now via the internet and the various apps that are out there. And so what does this matter? Why should we care? Well, the ability to experience other people's lives and experiences almost in real time is starting to seep its way into the workplace. And so people want to know not about the jobs that you have solely, but what's my experience going to be like working for you? And so if you look at the first bullet point I have here, I mean, just think about since the pandemic, what has happened to online shopping, right? I mean, Amazon's been around for years, right? But when the pandemic happened, what happened? Not only did we all start ordering our toilet paper and stuff, through Amazon, people started ordering groceries. And, I work from a home office, and my front window looks out at the street, and there's hardly a day goes by I don't see our local grocery store truck with a delivery to the neighborhood. I'm like, this isn't an overly affluent community. This isn't a retirement community where people can't go to the store. It's the convenience of it, right? And so people now want to be served. And I can't stress that enough. So Paul alluded to it earlier, the days of us posting an ad and getting 100 people to apply are gone, right? Because if you're experiencing that now, I guarantee you, and tell me if you are, tell me if you're in the chat, if you're posting an ad and getting 100 resumes, because if you are, I want to know how many of them are even remotely qualified. Because I think those are two very different questions to answer, right? And the reason that is we're in this state is that all the people that are qualified, the people that we want working for us, they're already working. So if we think putting a help wanted sign out alone is going to give them the experience that they want to see, we're kidding ourselves, right? They need to see upfront, what is the experience I'm going to have at your place of work versus what I'm already experiencing here at my place of work? And that means we've got to show them that the grass is greener with us. So the next thing that we've got to take a look at in this whole thing are smartphones, right? We all got them, love them or hate them, we got them. And there's more power in these babies, more computing power than what put man on the moon. Most people don't realize that. It's amazing the power that's at our fingertips, right? We can make phone calls, we can shoot text, we can shoot video, take pictures, share all stuff real time. We can surf the web, we can look at menus. I mean, there's really nothing you can't do with this thing, right? They truly are our windows to the world. And if you've ever lost your phone, it is like losing the world, right? You're freaking out because all your contacts are in there and work is in there and emails are in there. I mean, everything, our lives are in these doggone things, right? So why does that matter? Well, how are you coming across to the people you're trying to recruit via cell phone? We'll give you some stats in a little bit, but let me just clue you in. I had last week, or 2 weeks ago, I was presenting at a conference out in Phoenix, and we were talking about a very similar topic. And I brought up this idea of cell phones. And one of the ladies in the room raised her hand and she said, Ed, my people, meaning her management team, don't believe we need to worry about cell phones because, and I quote, the people we're trying to hire don't know how to use their cell phones for that sort of thing. Now, there was a dead silence in the room, and I looked at this woman, and I simply said, you need your management team to understand that more people on Earth have a cell phone than indoor plumbing. And if we think that there are people out there that don't know how to use a cell phone who are under the age of 70, we're kidding ourselves. They do. Give one of these bad boys to a 6 or 7-year-old kid and they're going to figure it out, right? There are more people using their cell phones to search the web, find job applications, find information out about you than via desktop or tablet. And why is this so important? Because you got to know how you show up on a small cell phone screen. One of my pet peeves, and it seems to be highlighted in the restaurant industry. I don't know why these folks can't figure it out, but I do a lot of traveling for work, and invariably I'm in a strange town, so I start looking up restaurants, and I'm looking for a certain kind of food, so I get my recommendations. Then I look at reviews on the place, all this on my phone, right? And then I say, okay, well, Joe's Chicken Shack sounds like it's a good place, but I want to see the menu. And so I go to Joe's Chicken Shack and the menu does not, like it, you can't blow it up on your screen. Now I've done all this work and I don't know whether Joe's has anything I want to eat. That is a classic example of how we turn people off. I won't go to that restaurant if I can't read the menu, right? People won't come to you if they can't read your menu, if they can't learn about your company on their phones. And so really what I'm trying to say here is that as a society, our expectation of what service means has really, really changed. And like it or not, we are here to serve our candidates now. I think it's safe to say probably lots of you are in the HR function. In fact, let's throw it in the chat here. I know our friend Cynthia, I know you're in HR, Cynthia. Other folks who are in the session here, what are your primary job roles? If you could throw those in there. Rita's in HR, okay. Jesus is a technical trainer, okay, excellent. So he's in quasi HR. Candace, HR, Rolando, recruiter, okay. So Carlos, recruiter under Cynthia. You're a lucky guy. Cynthia's a great gal. I'm sure you know that. And so what we've got to look at is this idea of how are we serving our customers, which are our candidates, and are we treating them as such? Because if we don't treat them as a valued customer, we lose them. Paul, do you want to hop in on something there?
I know on the last webinar we were talking about when the candidate experience starts, and we had some insightful people on the call, and one person said at birth, and people were going way back to way before you post the ad, because people are checking you out, right? If you're in the area and they in an area that they want to work in, or in their neighborhood, or around where they live, they're looking at you because they can find a lot of information about you. So that's out there, whether you're aware of it or not, and whether you're going to take advantage of this and just get on board with what the minimum standard is. That's what we're talking about right here. So I don't know if are you carrying it from here, or is that me?
No, nope, you're up.
All right. So the whole thing is, now marketing, for me, marketing is just getting the right message out. I'm not the comms team. I am not the social media person that knows how many times to post or how to reach the right people. But I do know how to get the right message about a company out to the people that want to hear it. And that's what we're talking about needs to happen, because it's a question of, how does your marketing department work with social media? Are you doing the old stodgy kind of just showing the standard old school pictures of like your building and happy people standing in front of it, vision and mission right there? Or can people actually see what happened on Tuesday? Can you see what Fred down on whatever site has solved, what kind of problem he has just solved for a customer? Can you see the technology that he had to use? Or can you see the latest equipment in action on site, and somebody that works with it excited to use it? These sort of things are the experiences Ed's talking about. And that's the kind of marketing I'm talking about for, maybe what's being posted on LinkedIn or shared on these different feeds that's going out there, so that the people that are interested in doing the type of work that your company does will see that that's a cool place to do what we want to do, that the people there actually are having fun. Because the old school way was, we decide what the message is as upper management, and we just pass it out there, and it doesn't matter what the rest of the team thinks or feels, because we say how it is. But today, people have a voice. They have more of a voice than ever. And what Ed's sharing about these cell phones and these smartphones is that, like, even somebody in one of the up developing countries that doesn't have plumbing in his house necessarily, or her house, can access the web and communicate and share opinions and share their voice, which is wonderful and amazing, because everyone should have a voice. But it really changes the playing field for all of us who used to have all the power. So we need to know how to work with that. So there's rules of engagement here. And Ed, I know you have worked through this one. I'm going to let you take the reins.
So, I want you to think about a couple things, right? So it used to be that we did an annual engagement or employee opinion survey, and we said, okay, whatever we get from that, well, that's what our employee experience is like. And that's what I've got. EE is employee experience, by the way. And so, but today that whole employee experience is really defined as the holistic view of what our people believe their life at work is really like. So could that annual engagement survey be part of that? Absolutely. I'm not telling you to do away with those kind of things. I'm just saying that that's just a snapshot in time about how someone's feeling. You got 364 more days of the year to help them feel good about the workplace. Okay. For most companies, the culture's on the wall, right? They got all these great slogans around. Back in the day, it was the successory pictures and all that. But companies today that get the employee experience, are actually measuring the metrics that matter. And Paul and I do have a session in this webinar series that's going to talk about the metrics that matter. What are the things we have to be taking a look at to make sure that we can measure and align our people with our culture and improve it if that's our desire? It can be done, and it has to be done. Believe it or not, I had someone tell me the other day, we don't have a culture. Wait, what? Yeah, you do. You just don't know what it is. Everybody has a culture. HR, we're going to talk a lot about marketing. You can't be in your silo. There's got to be people that are are designated to be watching the employee experience and what that's all about. And whether you call them HR relations or people relations or whatever, they got to be focused on that employee experience. Total rewards used to be, we just looked at fairness, benchmarking against the markets. And again, you still do those things, but what are we offering to make our people's lives better? And people say, Wade, what do you mean by that? Well, okay, you probably have good benefits in terms of your medical coverage and dental and vision, and maybe you're paying a really good salary. Those are the basics to get into the game. For those of you that are poker players, that's the ante just to get into the game, right? But you've got to have your pocket of money to up the ante, to get folks to join you in the game. And so when I think about total rewards, what are the other cool things you can be doing? Total rewards include things like how people can move through their careers, how we train and develop them, what opportunities can we provide them, what are the kinds of services we can provide? Like simple things like, can you get your dry cleaning dropped off at the office and picked up from there? Do you offer some kind of elder care, pet insurance? I mean, there are all kinds of crazy things that you could offer your people at very minimal to no cost, but that might make their lives better. That's part of the experience, right? Everyone's talked about health and wellness, and that comes down to costs, but I believe that it's a whole thing, right? It's the whole focus on our employees' well-being. One of my clients actually has a room dedicated just off the lobby for spiritual advice. And each day of the week, there is a different pastor, if you will, a different religious person there. So someone who's Christian could see a Christian pastor on a Monday. Someone who's Jewish could see a rabbi on a Tuesday, and so on, right? It's a perk that's just a part of their vibe, so that if someone's just struggling and just wants that quiet prayer time, they can go there and get that. But that's part of their vibe. And they've been doing it for years, and it's part of the well-being. And those total rewards, right? It's not just salary and benefits. It's all the non-financial things we can bring to our people. And a lot of times folks will say, well, how do I know about all this? How do I find out what people want? So let me ask you this, throw it in the chat. How do you find out what people want when it comes to their total rewards and these non-financial reward items? How do you figure that out? Survey them, roundtables, absolutely, Cynthia. Bottom line is we ask them. It's not hard, right? And I'm surprised at how many times I get asked the question, well, how do we find out? Well, goodness, go ask them, right? It's not rocket science. And so finally, the whole idea from an employee experience is it's not just about giving them a platform to go out and For instance, my wife works at UPS, and they've got a great employee intranet. I mean, there's all the information in the world that you could want on this thing. Problem is, it's a horrible user experience. While all the information is out there, you can't find it. Right? And so she invariably ends up having to go to HR to say, I can't find this. I need X. Right? So whatever we're doing out there in terms of the information and how we're getting it out to our people, it has to be tailored to our people's journey. And again, notice I mentioned that it has to be mobile. Got to be able to connect on the mobile device. So Paul.
All right. So aside from being able to access everything on the phone and that the user experience is great, the way that you're getting people's attention has to meet the ADD that everybody has, right? We've been watching video clips of 30 seconds or less of, animals doing backflips and doing while somebody's making food, and how to mix up the best cocktails, and it's just flipping one thing to the next. We've done it to the internet's done it to us, the social media's done it to us, but our attention spans are this big. So your job titles, don't get creative, be to the point, and make sure that it's something relevant to what a person with the level of experience that you're seeking will look for outside of your organization. We have internal languages, right? I was just working a job description for an organization, and their language about how they operate inside, nobody understands it outside the organization. So they were looking for a VP level person for a really senior role, and they call them the Chief Capacity Development Officer. And first I was like, well, what is that? What is capacity development? And so I read through the job description 6-7 times. I looked things up, I didn't find anything on it. And I started asking people. And finally, I figured out what it meant. And then I figured out by asking more people that they're looking for a VP level person. Well, why would that person even consider reading that job description, right? That's what people are doing to themselves, right? So just make sure that your job title is concise, it's 1 to 3 words, and the stats show that the apply rates are way higher if you are clear and concise. And then you have to be consistent. And consistency means that your message on your website is matching your message on LinkedIn, is matching your message on whatever other platforms are out there. There has to be a consistency across branding and color and imagery, across the taglines and slogans and values. Like, people need to realize that, oh, that's you. Mm-hmm. And when we go to another platform, it's you, because that consistency builds the trust. And if that company story that's being told in one place is being told in another place and is reflected in your job description or the job posting, and they say, wow, I trust these people because I'm not getting mixed messages. And employees that are posting video or sharing their on-site experiences are saying exactly the same sentiment of what's being reflected on your site. That's what employment branding is. That's what the employee value proposition is that what the employees say about working here is actually what's happening in here. And as Ed was saying, we're not just trying to put out the best silverware in China and all that, because you can't put lipstick on a pig, right? It's if you're working in a dirty welding floor and it's hot and whatever, yeah, we know that's how it is. That's what it looks like. But is there great equipment there? Is there, are you working on cool things like stuff that needs to go up into space and needs to have certain specs? Those things are cool to people, and they're willing to overlook the factors that they know are part of the job. You're not trying to make it be something else. You're just trying to be real and show people what's there. And if the messaging is consistent and you're not just showing happy, smiley people that are all clean and, wearing a really pristine uniform, when they're really down and dirty and underneath heavy equipment, they'll believe you and they'll buy into what's actually being done. So make sure there's that consistency. And then are you engaging? And we were talking about this because in the experience age, that's what it's all about, engagement. And how many people see something that they want to interact with and what they can do to interact with it. That's what people are looking for. They're not looking for static websites and static posts that are simply up there saying, we are the number one company for this, or, 56% of employees said what have you. They want to see somebody actually saying it, and then they want to be able to talk to that person. Can I post on here, put a comment and say, that's exactly what I'm looking for, and then somebody from your company can interact with them and say, that's how it is here. Like, that's why I love it here, and that's why I work here. So that's the you'll have to excuse this is a conference, so apologize. Anyway, so I'm just going to wrap up here. Oh, okay, gotcha. So Ed, I'm going to pass it over to you. There's apparently some excitement on here.
Gotcha. No worries. No worries. So here's the thing, folks, and this is important. So we've heard about employee engagement for years now, right? It's not employee experience. It is a part of the experience. Okay. And they can drive one another to a certain extent. And so I want you to think about it this way. A lot of people define employee engagement as we have pizza on Fridays, or today's the first of the month, and so we're having a birthday cake, and everyone whose birthday is this month, we're going to all celebrate at the same time. Okay, that's part of my experience, and it's part of trying to engage our people, but it's a microcosm, right? So we have our birthday cake at lunch today, and everyone sings happy birthday, and we have a good time, right? But tomorrow that's done. And so a lot of times those little activities, they're good. Please don't mistake my message. They're good. We need to do them, but don't think that it's enough, because, oh, excuse me, in the experience age, we're looking at the whole piece of things, not just the little microcosms. So the more that we can do the little things and make them into the bigger things and make them into the fabric of who we are, now we get to employee experience. And if you look at how these two globes interact, right? If we can deliver on what the employee's expectations are, and we can have what we want and how we design those expectations and blend those together, that's where the power is. So again, so Paul says his apologies, there's some sort of on-site emergency where he is. Well, hopefully, Paul, everything's going to be okay there. So the challenge for us is that it goes back to the last slide that I shared, which was this has to be part of how you think in HR, how you design what life is like on an everyday basis for your people. Because the reality is people know there's going to be some bad days, right? It is work after all. There's going to be bad days. But do the bad days outweigh the good ones? So for instance, I started my career out at UPS. And if you know anything about UPS, these guys, they're out in all kinds of weather. And so there'd be a lot of times when, like say in the heat of the summer, they might come back, we might have ice cream out for them, right? In the wintertime for the dock workers, we might roll in some hot chocolate, that kind of stuff. There are little things that go a long way to recognize, okay, the working conditions right now are really bad because of the weather. What can we do to make it a little bit more bearable? Those are the things that drive an employee's experience and can drive their commitment for us. So I'd like you to throw in the chat, what are some things that you're doing that you believe contribute to your employee experience? Because I think that this should be, a learning environment here. And I want everyone to learn. So go ahead and throw it. And I'm going to continue the presentation, but throw it in there so folks can see the things that each other's doing. So ultimately what we're talking about here in the experience age is we're moving forward to connecting people through experiences rather than just on the facts. And so Paul mentioned, what would I see if I went to your website right now? Would I see the smiling faces of all 50 of your employees standing there in front of the logo or whatever? And there's nothing wrong with that. But, You know what I'd rather see? I'd rather see some live video of your people interacting with your customers. So for instance, I had an opportunity to work with an organization that does racing car engines and things like that, right? And so what's really cool about that is, they're hiring mechanics just like everybody else. But think about that environment. Paul mentioned about, like if you're working with spaceship stuff, how cool would that be? These guys are working on race cars, right? You're not working on daddy's Dodge sedan anymore. You're working on state-of-the-art vehicles. Gosh, I want to go to your website. I want to see the guys working on these things. I want to see the state-of-the-art facility that they get to work in. I want to hear from them about how well they like the work, what they like about it. I mean, those are the things that we've got to have as we're recruiting, okay? Because our people want to experience these things. Or I shouldn't say our people, our candidates want to experience these things. They want to know, if I leave my current employer, do I know what I'm getting myself into? Because yeah, we've got people leaving for a couple bucks an hour here and there, okay? But if I know that I can go to your workplace and maybe get a raise, but also have a better experience, wow. And that's also, the title of this is, are you driving people away? Well, if you have a really good experience, you're not going to be driving people away either. So as we continue to think about this, this transition into the experience age, we don't just want the information, we want the experiences related to it. And how that blends in for all of us is, so you put your job description out there on your website. I'm looking for a bank teller. Now, most of us know we've got bank accounts. We know what a bank teller does, but wouldn't it be cool to have some video of a couple of your tellers interacting with the customers? They've got their smiling faces. People can actually see the lobby, get a vibe for what's going on there. And then maybe have a little interview with a teller. And hey, Jessica, tell us about why you like being a teller at ABC Bank, right? And Jessica says, oh, I love our customers, and I've gotten to know some of them, and they're great people. And when Mr. Jones comes in, that's what we're talking about when we talk about the experience. Those are things that we can see, right? And so what we're finding is, in the experience age, it's not just the interaction, it's the emotional connection. And if you can drive that emotional connection with your candidates and then ultimately your people, look out. You will be a talent magnet, and you will retain your people because of that emotional connection. They will have bought into what you're doing because of their experience and because they feel connected to it. And that's the real magic sauce that we're talking about today. So I know I feel like we're kind of beating on this experience age thing, but I want to wrap up this little piece of the seminar by saying, why should you care, right? If you've heard some things, you're like, gosh, this is really good stuff, but how am I going to get someone to buy into this, right? Well, the experience age is about continually showing value. So unfortunately, what this whole new level of service that we've talked about so far has lent itself to is that people are in a what have you done for me lately mentality. And we don't have to like it. We can grumble about it behind closed doors, but it's here. And so we want to be sure that we are constantly delivering on experiences. And I can tell you one experience I had, again, I was still with UPS at the time, and our one shift was like near the bottom of the barrel in terms of its safety record. And so we pulled the safety committee together and we said, look, this has to turn around. We just cannot continue to have these nagging injuries and these muscle strains and things. And so we did some retraining with the employees and then really empowered the safety committee to go out and be the peers out there on the floor and encouraging people to work safely. And what we said is, look, guys, can we get to just 1 week where we don't have a bump, a bruise, or something? And if you do that, we'll throw a pizza party for you, right? Now, it doesn't sound like much, but keep in mind that the demographic of that shift was 98% college kids. College kids are poor, right? They don't have enough to eat. So food was the way to get through to them. It only took us the second week for them to get through and not have any reportable injuries. So we got them the pizza party, right? And they said, okay, what are you going to do for us next? We go a few more weeks. I said, okay, well, if we go 2 weeks, management, it was getting near summertime, management will cook out burgers, dogs, the whole works, right? They went there 2 weeks. We did burgers and dogs. And in fact, we actually went out and bought some gift cards, handed out some gift cards for them. And so, as we're standing there having fun, of course, one of the smart Alex says, well, what are you going to do for us next? And I said, well, what do you want? And he says, oh, I want a steak, right? And I said, okay, y'all want steaks? And they start clapping, yeah, steaks. And so this is 120 people chanting they want steaks. And so I said, okay, y'all get steaks. We will rent out a local steakhouse and take you out for a full course steak dinner, but you got to go 1 month. They did it. So we kept upping the ante, right? We kept building on one positive experience to another positive experience to another positive experience, right? Now, eventually we had to taper that off, right? We couldn't continually up the ante. We didn't totally get rid of the incentives for good performance and those kind of things. But my point is that we were delivering on the experience that they wanted, right? They wanted food, and they didn't think in a million years that we would buy steaks for an entire shift, but we did. You know why? Because the amount of money we were saving with not having the injuries was 4 times what it was costing us to do all these food things. So it was the right thing to do all the way around. And so what it really comes down to is that those of us in HR, we've got to think about this as a business priority. That this idea of how we deliver on what our people are experiencing every day at work is a priority. And not because we want it to be a fluffy, feel-good workplace, but because we have to believe and understand that the experience is what drives productivity, and the experience is what draws in the top quality candidates. Now, one of my current clients, they're struggling right now with their executive team, and they've got a great business. It's growing, but it's kind of a weak executive team. And they're trying to bring some new talent in. And the vice president said to me, she's like, Eddie, I'm afraid to bring people in because our culture isn't what we want it to be. And I'm afraid they're going to see this culture and they're going to go, running from the hills not long after we hire them. And I said, okay, so you can't change the culture with the people that you have because they're not the right people. We've already made that decision. We know they're not the right people. But what if, as you're advertising and you're talking to people, you say, you open up that door, right? Let them see the skeletons in your closet. Let that high-level exec know, hey, look, we don't have a very good culture here right now. We're trying to change it. We believe you could be part of that change effort, but it's going to be hard in the beginning. Let that candidate understand that that's going to be their experience, and if they're up for the challenge. Because some people, they thrive on that kind of challenge, right? And so, if you told me that, and that was the kind of thing I thrived on, I'd be like, yeah, I want to be a change agent. I want to be part of this. Sign me up. I know what I'm getting into. I know I'm going to have to roll my sleeves up and get dirty, and that's okay. We don't have to get the fine china out, right? Sometimes the paper plates and the saltine crackers are going to do just fine if that's what people want. And finally, now my clicker doesn't want to advance it. Oh, there we go. I want you to look at your business processes. What processes do you have that are getting in the way of delivering a good experience? It's hard to look at ourselves because we oftentimes think, well, there's a reason that I've got all these processes. And it's true. We've got reasons for them, but I want you to think about it in this regard. So for a while, I had my consulting practice inside of an accounting firm. And that accounting firm would do birthday cards every year. Now, mind you, as an HR consultant, I was actually housed inside the HR function. The lady who was in charge of handwriting the birthday cards out, I knew her quite well. She knew me quite well. I show up on my birthday. There's my card laying on my desk. Happy birthday, Michael. Now, secret for all of you, Michael is my real name, or is my first name, I should say, but I go by Ed, my middle name. She knows this. I walk down the hall. I say, hey, Barb, how you doing? She goes, hey, Ed, happy birthday. Key word there, Ed. Hey, Ed, happy birthday. I said, you know, Barb, that's what I was coming down and chat with you about. Take a look at this envelope. And she looks at it, she says, yeah. I said, well, why is it addressed to Michael? And she says, well, that's the name on your paycheck. And I said, yeah, but you know my name's Ed. Well, yeah, she says. And she didn't get it until I just kind of stood there smiling. And I said, Barb, how many other people are we doing this to? Even if I did go by, you know, if Michael was the name that I preferred, I probably would be called Mike, right? Why would we be so formal with someone, right? It's a small thing. Thank you. Hey, Zeus, I was just getting ready to say, it's the little things, right? Now, in the big scheme of things, did I really care? I don't know. It's 20 years later. I'm still talking about it. Maybe I do care. But my point is that that's a business process. It gets in the way of doing the experience, or excuse me, providing the experience that we want to deliver on our people or to our people. And so we've got to make sure we get those little things right. In one of our next webinars, we're going to talk more about this idea of the candidate experience, and I'll give you a little highlight. A friend of mine works in the HR information system space, and they've done some studies. They found on average, it takes 52 clicks to get through an online employment application. Who's doing that? Are any of you clicking 52 times to apply for a job? That's a business process failure. And so I'd ask you to really take some time to say, why are we doing the things that we're doing? And why are we doing them the way we're doing them? And are they getting in the way of what we really want to deliver for our people? And so what we've really talked about here today is that we're evolving as humans. Paul mentioned this at the top of the hour. We are evolving. Some would say not in a very good way, right? But our brains are actually evolving faster now than at any other point in history. And if we don't evolve our businesses and our processes to keep up with what our people and our candidates are demanding of us, we will literally be left in the dust. You know, we're hearing now that companies are failing because they can't draw talent in. And the argument is always, well, there's not enough talent to go around. I would agree, there's probably not. But that just means that the strong are going to survive. And if you want to survive, then you've got to be the one that can draw that talent in. And so wrapping up here, I want you to think about these three questions. Okay. And this is your homework, as it were. Does your business, can you take the knowledge we've shared with you today? Does your business understand the expectations around employee experience? Or are you like that lady in my seminar last week who said, we believe these people don't know how to use cell phones? Like, wait, what? If we've got folks like that, we have to have heart-to-hearts with them about how we curate our employee experience better. Are you asking, as we mentioned earlier in the chat room, are you asking questions to understand about what your employees desire? Now, the reality is we can't deliver on everything employees want, and I get that, right? But can we at least make the effort to find out and deliver on what we can? Because as Jesus said just a little bit ago in the chat room, it is the little things, and the little things mean a lot, and they add up. It's not unlike a marriage relationship. You do all the little things to keep your marriage or your relationship solid, right? For the other person, because you care about them. It's the exact same scenario in the workplace. We do the little things for our employees to let them know we love them, we care about them, we appreciate them. And that's what makes the relationship stick. And finally, how can you take those desires of your employees and turn that into an experience vision, right? So when we talk with our employees, have the round tables or whatever we do, and then get our employees to tell us what they want. We decide we want to move on it. how do we move on? How do we turn it into a reality for our people so they can see that the worst thing you can do would be to ask them what they want and then not do anything with that. In fact, I would tell you, if you know you can't do anything or don't want to do anything, don't bother doing roundtables or opening up to your employees. It's just not going to work. Paul did not pop back in, so I really hope everything's okay. As he mentioned at the top of the hour, he was actually at another event, so he's at a public facility, and he hopped away from that to join us this morning. So I'm hoping everything is okay there, and I will let all of you know that. I know we're right about at the top of the hour. We've got another webinar coming up in 4 weeks, and if you've attended this one, you'll get a burst about it. You can go ahead and register for that on my website, edcrow.com, and go over to webinars. Again, just like this one, it's free. So you can share the link you get with friends and associates to get them in here. But before I let you all go, are there any questions I'm happy to answer on the presentation, something that we've talked about? Throw them in the chat and I'll address them. Paul and I also would like to offer a free session for everyone in here to have a chat about your employee experience. So if you'd like that, again, hit my website up. There's a link right on my homepage. Grab some time with Ed. It's a 15-minute slot, and Paul and I are happy to hop on and have that 15-minute chat with you about what's going on with your employee experience and share ideas and thoughts with you. I don't see any questions coming in. So with that, I'm going to wrap. I appreciate everyone hanging out here. I hope you found it helpful. I appreciate your chatting in the discussion room. That always makes it a lot easier for us. And we'll report back on Paul. Hopefully the resort he's at is not burning down. I hope I'm not, just joking about that, but hopefully he's okay, and you'll see him again in a couple of weeks. But hey, everyone, happy day, and enjoy the rest of it. Take care.